What's up, y'all? Welcome back to the Spiritual Stylist Podcast. This is your host, Mel, aka Hair by Mel, the Spiritual Stylist. And I'm just tapping back in after a little break, but I'm back in action now. And we're just going to talk about my trip to Africa, a little bit what I learned there and took from it. I kind of want to share what I learned after I got back and kind of just where I'm going moving forward and just a little hidden gems that I didn't really tap in with last time, like just kind of share where I'm at so that you can see, from this podcast, like how I'm going to be moving forward with my career spiritually, mentally, and with my fellow people, just so you can understand me more. So tapping in, we're having the vibe. So I'm now gonna just light my Palo Santo. So I know you guys have seen me light sage before, and what sage does is clears the energy of negative and positive. It just gives whatever space you're in a blank canvas of energy, right? But Palo Santo calls in that good energy and is usually used to keep the vibe remaining, right? So me and my girl already got it right in here. So we're gonna keep the vibes, the energy flowing. Our space is already cleared out. And I love how this smells too. Let's do just a little energy cleanse. Now that we cleanse the energy in the room, we're about to get to it, y'all. About to chop it up a little bit. So,
on your last podcast, you talked about going on a spiritual retreat. Can you explain what a spiritual retreat is for those who might not know?
That is a great question, my dear friend. Yeah, because I guess I would see people going on spiritual retreats is what even got me to know, you always see the seed planted before you go, but basically a spiritual retreat, it can mean different things to different people. Like in the beginning, we all spoke our intention of what this trip was, and it all was different, but still similar. I feel like people go on a spiritual retreat to take themselves out of the natural environment that they've been in, one going to a different land of origin so that you have a free energy cleanse, you don't have any attachments to people, things that have happened there. You really can just settle into this whole new version of you. I mean, y'all have traveled before, you guys know how it feels to be in another country or city. So that one is taking yourself out. Two is basically being around like-minded people. Every day you deal with lots of different types of people, but when you go to stuff like this, you kind of all attract that similar energy. So it's you can just unapologetically be yourself without those past judgments. Sometimes your best friends still can't really even see you for the work and person you've become, because they've been with you when you weren't necessarily that person yet. So when you go to a place like this, I feel like people see you for who you are really in that moment, who you've become. And that's always refreshing, when you're around the same people, you're going to stay in the same patterns. When you get to explore new minds, cultures, people from all different places, it gives you such a deep perspective. So I already loved that, but that's a deep part of it too. And then also discipline, having a routine with yourself. We woke up and did yoga every morning, and it was free for sure. It wasn't super strict, but having that regimen, to the schedule of when you eat and how you're eating clean, not being in control of your food source, being in a basically clean eating environment. That was something I really appreciated about African culture, is just the freshness of the food, the fruit, everything. It was just so organic and pure. You could just taste that the food was right there. Honestly, I really appreciated that. And another thing with with spiritual retreats, is yeah, you do get to do excursions and stuff. Usually that's a part of it. You're going to another part, so you get to experience the land, the culture, what that has to offer, you know. So that's thrown into your spiritual experiences, doing different excursions and also connecting with people on that deep level, really like in that safe place, but ultimately connecting with these people to really connect with yourself. Like that's really what a spiritual retreat is to take yourself out of your comfort zones and put yourself in vulnerable places to find that self-awareness within you of like leveling up, you know, spiritually, mentally, you know, even physically too, because you know we're eating so clean, doing yoga every day, and it just like is like a natural healing week of amazingness, you know. So it really changed my life, and I feel like my whole life was preparing me for that because, you know, well, I'm going to talk about this at the end, but I want to be able to give that experience that I had to people someday, and I feel as though I can, you know, because the type of healing and people that were attracted into this group, it literally like changes your life. And I feel like it is the purpose of life to help people with their healing and finding themselves like and just making this like crazy but beautiful life we live worth living even more, you know, because we all deal with, you know, different mental issues, whether it's anxiety, depression, whatever we deal with, you know, and people experience it in different ways. And you never are just gonna like be happy all the time. Like we're literally like we're literally born, like say we're born into sin, we're actually born into a sine wave, right? Like this is like literally how earth is flowing, how the energy is flowing. And it's like you're not always going to be at that peak. You're going to hit those lows again, but you have to like when you take what you take back from these things is how to handle your emotions and your lows better the next time, so you can help, you know, transition and just keep flowing in life. So that was like a lot I just said, but that's what I took from my spiritual retreat, and I think it's like can do more healing from for you than a lot of other things can in this world. So I highly recommend it. It was amazing.
Would you like to share an experience that you had on one of your retreats? Maybe an experience that you weren't expecting?
Okay, that I wasn't expecting, right? Well, hmm. Well, I do want to, now that you asked that question, I'm like, what was I not expecting that happened, you know? Because, like, some of the things I want to share is what I do want to expect, what I did expect, you know? But, well, you know, that's an interesting question for me because I feel like I never go into anything like not expecting it. I feel like I go into things just with a blank slate, like a blank slate of just whatever is supposed to happen is ultimately supposed to happen and lead me, you know, to that next thing, you know. When you just are free like that, I feel like that's when everything flows and you really surrender to what the universe like wants to happen. And that happened to me on my last day there too, right? So this could be a story I'll just start right into because it speaks on that. So it's the last day, and I've already left the whole crew. I'm by myself exploring. We were more on the beach in Zanzibar, and I went to Stone Town, which is more of like the city. And I was just exploring. On my last day, my flight was late at night, and I was just exploring the whole day, right? And I'm sitting at this food place waiting for my cab to pick me up. And I get a text that my flight is delayed a whole 24 hours, like a whole other night. And I'm just like at that point, I had all my suitcases. I was ready to hop on that plane. And at first, I was just like being negative. Like, I'm like, I'm by myself. Like, where do I go? But then I just realized, no, like Africa didn't want me to leave yet. And I was supposed to just embrace whatever was next, you know. And I ended up finding this cute boutique hotel that I was literally supposed to be at. So many crazy connections happened to me that night and experiences. And it just really showed me like it was literally like a Harry Potter experience. Like if you've seen the fourth Harry Potter where he can travel back in time, and he's like basically waiting. He thinks his dad is coming to save him, but it's really his future self, like planting all the seeds for him, his highest self. And that's how I felt when I went there that night. I was like, wow, like all these little signs. Like if I told the story, it would be crazy. But we won't go too deep into that one. But it was just like it was supposed to happen. I was supposed to be there one more night, So I was really grateful for that experience, and the whole trip really brought me to a state of gratitude. I guess that's like what I could say for the next like story that I'm about to tell is just gratitude, So I know you guys saw me talk about the psilocybin ceremony in the last one, and this story is kind of leading up into what I want to say about that.
Leading into the psilocybin ceremony. Ready? And
so yeah, leading into the psilocybin ceremony, these are like two stories some more intimate stories that I didn't share on the last one, that I guess like I could take back and were really supposed to happen for me. One thing I can say, the difference between, North America and Africa is like we're rich in all these ways of can go to the store and have these resources and a lot of material things, and we can get things a lot quicker, but like they are rich in culture, family, fresh food, and just a whole different way of life, And two things of this world that I care about the deepest, that really are can be the biggest joy of my heart, but also the biggest pain, are the children and the animals. The children and the animals of this earth. And these two experiences I feel like had to happen to me before I did this psilocybin ceremony, because I feel like if I didn't get these last cries out for this pain that I feel towards these two beautiful energies of this earth, then like I wouldn't have been able, I might have been in a different state for that, So the day before the ceremony, both of this happened to me. So we were driving home from the caves that we went swimming in, and we were about to go to this Rastafarian, which was amazing. Rasta Mel, my old IG name, but Rastafarian vegetarian like dance slash yard house like for dinner. And something with the bus was getting mixed up. Like he didn't know we were supposed to go there, and we were pulled over, right? And I was sitting at the window seat, and the energy kind of started to rise in the bus. Not bad, but like we were just trying to figure out when we were going to get there, where we were going, why we were stopped. We were stopped for like 20 minutes, and like instead of letting the anxiety, I just was looking out at my beautiful scenes around me, And then all of a sudden I hear Mambo, and I look down, and there's this sweet little boy, maybe like 5 or 6, with a color shirt on that is the same color as my hair. And he just looked up to me and reached his hand, and I just grabbed his hands, and I was like, Mambo, how are you? And he's just like, Boa. We couldn't really communicate, but we were just communicating for those couple minutes. And he was the most precious soul that one of the most precious souls I've ever met. And just really had that little connection for a second, and then we ended up figuring out what we were doing, and we were about to like leave. We were starting to pull off a little, and I was just like, it was so nice to meet you. I love you. And I reached in my purse and just got a bill that I had in there and handed it to him really quick, right? And he put it in his pocket, and then my brother, my homeboy Calzeni, which he is from Tanzania, so he speaks the language. He yelled something out the bus to him as we were driving away, right? And then he came and sat by me, and I was like, what'd you just say to him, bro? What'd you say to my little friend? And he's like, do you know you just gave him 10,000 shillings? And I was like, yeah, is that bad? And then he's like, no, that's good. You don't even know, like, his family really needed that. I could sense it. But he goes, families can eat for $1 a day here, and you just gave him like 10,000 shillings. And I was just like, he's like, what I had said to him was, don't tell anybody that you have that, and take it straight to your mom. And as soon as he said that to me, and like, bro, that was, he said, basically, as soon as he said that to me, I started crying. And he said, don't cry, like, you just helped that family for the next month. And then I was just like sitting there, because like that was $6 to me, bro. Like $6. And like this little pure soul, like you would never really see a kid in America asking for money. And it just hit me, like it just hit me. And then he was like, that's probably why at the we were parked there for 20 minutes. You were supposed to meet him, Mel. And then like I was just crying. And he ended up giving me a hug and holding me, because it was just like, I just like felt it, like it just really like hit me, this whole surge of energy, right? And that was the first half of what happened, with just like, for the kids, like those kids that just don't have those same privileges but are just still so happy and pure. And the second thing that happened to me was with the animals, which this was later on the way home, and it was like pitch black and it was dark and whatnot. And I was asleep on the bus. And um I was asleep, and then all of a sudden I felt and heard the bus like come to a really quick stop. And then I like kind of woke up, and I started to hear a dog like screaming bloody murder, like literally screaming. And I have a lot of trauma with my dogs from past dog fights that have happened. And it just like triggered me, and I woke up out of my sleep kind of frantic, and I looked out the window, and there was an orange dog, literally the same color as my hair again, that just had got ran over in the middle of the street. It was dying. It just like hit my soul, because it's like literally couldn't stop and help it. They didn't even have any animal clinics around. Like it was so heavy. I could literally feel it, like, and everyone was sleeping. And I just started to cry so deeply, like honestly one of the deepest cries I've ever cried. And I feel like had to I feel like to know the light, like you really have to know the suffering. Like you can't know the light without seeing that suffering. And one of my guy friends who I had talked to earlier, he was telling me about his experience with plant medicine, and how he saw a lot of suffering, and how he knew he needed to see that to now know the light. And I feel like that's what happened for me. Like I feel like I had to really kind of see that little bit of suffering that day, so that I could, see the light. And that was like just such a two big stories that I really took back from that, and I really cried my eyes out that night. But I did feel better the next morning, like I did. And but I still did feel it a little bit heavy. And that's kind of what I wanted to talk about too. And I'm just going to lead into it, is because like sometimes like we think with something that happened to us, right? It could be a trauma from so long ago. It could be something that happened with your man, something that happened with your parents, or just something that resides in you, right? And a lot of times we tell ourselves that we've let go of this, right? Like, oh, that's in the past, I've let go. But like, you really haven't. And sometimes you need to do a physical act of letting go, to let go of that emotional pain that still is in your body. So that next morning, after I cried and saw that suffering, I had these flowers in my room, and I just took them and went to the ocean. And I gave them to the ocean for the pain of the children and the animals that suffer on this earth. And it was kind of like that physical let go that, like that's why in religions, like people, like you hear about a sacrifice. Like that's why people like put a physical aspect to things too. Like for God, like I would never take it as far as an animal thing, because obviously I love animals, but like it's that physical sacrifice of letting go of something, so that you can show like God, like that you're really ready to like heal from that you're ready to let that go. So yeah, that's what I did. So leading into the next night, the psilocybin ceremony, I feel like I felt more like ready, like myself, like I could do this, you know? So for the psilocybin ceremony, we met our beautiful plant medicine goddess, queen, shaman earlier that day. And we all met with her and kind of like spoke of our intentions and where we were at spiritually. If we had done mushrooms before, you know, so that she could get a feel for where we all were at. And then we had a group circle before, kind of just sharing like what this like was going to mean to us and what you could speak your intention or just leave it open for the universe, you know, and just so we all felt safe in that circle before we went into that deeper circle with each other, right? And after that first circle before the ceremony, we then went to our rooms for like 2 hours to have silent time to get our minds right for this, right? Like that was the other thing that I appreciated is like, because sometimes when you do talk to people too much, you take on their energy, and it really was a healing experience for us, right? So, you know, we went to the sacred space that night, and then the psilocybin, the mushrooms, was in a form of a tea, and we all took the tea together, and we each had our placemats, our comfy places. And then after we took the tea, we basically went into meditation into our little beds that we each made in the circle, while our beautiful people who led the ceremony led us with song and instruments. Shanta Siba, shout out to them, Calzeni and Goddess Queen again. But then, you know, we each went on a different journey within our souls, and I really dived into parts of myself I wasn't even expecting to dive into, you know. And I had done mushrooms before in the past, but I never really liked it. And now I knew why. Is because like I'm supposed to be doing this in a ceremonial, like healing type way. I'm supposed to show people this medicine and not be scared of it, because like I was scared of it. And like this was the only time I really like surrendered. And that's when I just had this beautiful experience with myself. And, you know, I won't speak on the whole thing, but like my first dive in, when, you know, I started to get in my meditation and felt it, was I saw this I always see an eye. I see like the eye, right? And then I saw my future kids, and then I became the water at the bottom of the earth, like rising up between the dirt. And then I became the ants that were in the earth. And then I became the bugs on top of the surface. And then I became the flowers and the grass. And then I became the animals that linger lower to the ground and walk on the ground. And I basically just kind of like became the earth and the animals, and really connected with that deep energy that I've felt my whole life. And I felt like such a connection to myself and spirit, and safe, and really surrendered to those other feelings that you feel in plant medicine, because it's not all like beautiful, even though it is. But sometimes you feel that little anxiety, and instead of like running from it, you have to sit with it, and you realize I am okay. I am safe, you know. These are just triggers, these are just my emotions within me that I need to figure out. And when you are held in a safe place with this sacred medicine, like you will understand, you will understand why people seek this sort of natural healing, you know. And I know it feels taboo to people, and I know I could seem crazy. Oh, she's doing mushrooms in Africa. Like, I already know how some of this can sound, but that's okay, because this message isn't even for people thinking on that level, you know. Like, this is for people who want to heal, who want to dive into the deepest part of their soul. Like, I don't do nothing, no drug that is not from this earth. Miss Ganja Girl and shrooms, like, those are straight from source. They are plants from this earth, you know. And there's a healthy relationship with it. Like, that's also a key to this. there is a point where you don't need to necessarily do the medicine because you've done that inner work and found that enlightenment. But a lot of people haven't reached that, and that's why this isn't like, oh, an escape. You do this when you want to actually not escape, when you actually want to face yourself and the pains within your soul. But sometimes it's not even that. Sometimes you do just have a higher experience in this, and that's the beauty of the medicine too. It only shows you what you need to be shown at that time. Like, even if you ask for anything, that's why, like, in my readings that I even do with the cards, I never want people to really ask. Like, don't even ask. Like, even though ask and you shall receive, but just let the medicine do the work on you, and it really did. And the gratitude you wake up with the next morning after doing something like that is unexplainable until it happens. And I guess that really changed my life. And when I came back, I knew, like, people in my life, honestly, like, even the closest people to me, my mom, my sisters, some of my sisters wouldn't be as open to it, but like, I knew that this medicine could help heal people around me, and like, maybe I could just be a voice that, because like, people do trust me. Once you know me, you will trust me, because I'm gonna be me. I'm gonna show you my love, and the people that maybe I can show that with my healing, that this could help heal them too, and get them going on a deeper journey with themselves and what God is to them and how they connect. How I connect with God is through meditation and through the earth, through when I'm in, at the beach, when I'm in nature, when I'm with my animals, when I'm connecting to source. So it really helps you to find whatever helps you tap in with source, with God for you. And yeah, that was a lot, but it was a lot. And, I guess speaking on all of that, coming back, I'll lead into what I want to do now. What I want to, you go through these series of things, and like, they're not happening to you, they're happening for you. It's like rejection is protection. So like, all those things that didn't work out, those relationships, those jobs, that thing you think you wanted, like, it's just because it simply is not for you. And like, it's so hard to feel that when you're in the moment. Like, even me, bro, I'm human. Like, when you're in the moment, you're like, this sucks. But you just have to know this is like for a deeper purpose. So those people, those things that didn't work out, it leads you to your higher purpose. And when I got back from Africa, I feel like I it was a big shift in my life. Like, I feel like the people that were not supposed to be in this next, like, steps in my life, in these next journey that I'm on with myself, with this world, with the collective consciousness. Like, I feel like anybody who wasn't with me, like, it was literally just getting taken away from me, taken out of my life. And that's what happens. Sometimes it feels like you're losing, like, stuff, but you're really not. You're just gaining your soul. You're just gaining the things that are really supposed to be around you. So rejection really is protection. When I came back and I was really, like, on that tip and ready to dive into myself even deeper spiritually, my next spiritual career path I want to take, what I want to dive deeper with in this hair world, that I do your hair, and then also just dive deeper with, like, myself. And I feel like there were things and people that happened that God was, like, protecting me from, and like, I couldn't see it fully clear at the time, but now I see the grand vision. And it was just supposed to align me with the people that had that pure intention for me. Nothing matters in this world, like, no matter what you do. That's why, like, oh, these cards could be bad, right? Want to know why that it says in the Bible that these are bad? Is because you could go to a person who is bad. You could go to a person who has a bad intention on you. You could be around a person who has a bad intention around you. So nothing matters but your intention, right? And when you walk in light and love, then light and love will surround you, and sometimes you just gotta let go of things that weren't meant to be, right? Everything is working in my favor. Everything is, pushing me to be the highest version of myself. And, what this, I guess the final little thing I'll say is not final little thing, but to kind of close this out of like, that was like then afterwards. And then now, I really have been like strict on my spiritual diet of like what I need to do for myself every day to meditate, to connect with God, to have that time with myself, to be the best version of me, to just keep growing. I've been really strict on that and I've been feeling good about it. Obviously, like, we're human. You're gonna, like, it's not linear. You're gonna maybe go back to do something that you shouldn't have done a little bit, but then you get back the next day and do it. But one thing I really want to move into now is I realized that why I was given, my gift of hairstyling at a younger age is to gain this group of women around me, right? This group of pure intention, beautiful goddesses that come and sit in my chair because they trust me. And like, that's the one thing you need when going to a healer, is like, you either need to trust who sent you there or trust that person. Like, that's the only way any healing can even be done. If you go to someone and you are thinking, this is weird, who is this, what is it, like, that's what it means of like, your mind tells your life. Like, if you don't believe something, it won't be true. If you don't believe in God, God will not be present in your life. If you don't believe in your dream, no one else will. Like, if you believe it, that's why anything can happen, right? So if you trust somebody, and that's what I guess I've learned, is like, by getting the trust of these women around me and gaining this, community, now I can step into this role of like helping people heal spiritually with a little bit more structure and guidance because people trust me, and I want to do one-on-one spiritual beach, I don't know what the name is yet, spiritual beach mermaid goddess healing sessions where we go to the beach and we have a spiritual talk about where you're at mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, and what you want to work on with yourself, what you want to let go of. And we make a beautiful altar from nature and anything that means for anything to you, and then we pray together, we meditate together, and if you are open to some Reiki, I would love to do that and help cleanse your energies. And then, we go to the ocean together, which is the water, the ultimate healer. The water is literally God, and we give it back to Mama Ocean, and cleanse yourself of that energy, and then you can, step into this next journey with self, with God, with your career, like feeling lighter and feeling energetically cleansed. Like, we are energetic beings. It's not anything new. If you walk into a place, you feel energy, so of course that energy resides in our body. And I just want to create a safe place for women in an experience so that they can learn, like, from me, how I learned from other people to transmute my energy, to transmute the pain, and I want to give that back to girls one-on-one, and then smaller, more intimate groups, 7 to 10, and pick different things that, we could relate on, and have a safe circle with, also with my best friend who I've been on this journey with and healing with, creating the spiritual sister circle to help women heal. So yes, like the one-on-one sessions, and then the group healing sessions with the women, eventually leading in. I'm just starting with this because I'm not going to dive into anything until I am ready. I'm initiated into this completely, but to eventually host my own retreats, my own spiritual healing retreats with the women around me that I'm already building, whether it's here in Florida, another part of Florida, or it's in my other land of Jamaica. That is my dream, is to eventually do what I did for you guys. Put together an experience, put together a group of people that will make you dive into yourself, feel safe, and find that spiritual healing, you know? So I feel like I really found my next purpose by going to this retreat. And I kind of had been feeling like that. Like I know that I love doing hair, but I do feel like it's time for me to like do even more. And I'm always gonna do hair, my bread and butter. I love y'all, but I want to do more. And that is like, you know, I'm just speaking it into the world and into existence. And yeah, that's like ultimately what I took from all of that. And it literally is like, wow, the one other thing I did want to say, and I was gonna say it's the Holy Trinity, right? But as people do say the Holy Trinity, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, like what people don't get is like that's one triangle, right? That is the masculine triangle on earth. That's why you see the Star of David. It means a lot of different things. It means all the different elements. It can mean a lot to people in the Jewish religions. But what that star ultimately does mean too is that Trinity is the masculine, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. But the other triangle creating the star is the mother, the daughter, and the divine. Like you literally cannot get to the next realm throughout the divine, throughout the divine feminine. Like the divine feminine healing brings that ultimate healing on earth. The divine feminine, that mother, daughter, Holy Trinity is literally like is why nobody speaks about it, is because if nobody hears about that, we aren't conscious of it, and then we cannot fully heal like the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. But like there's a whole other side to that platform, you know. And that's what I learned too, because in my healing I've really been embodying this like mother energy in me, even though I'm not a mother myself. But I've always had that mothering energy. And just, you know, there's this quote from the Bible. When I read it, I just couldn't believe my eyes, because, and I'm not gonna, and I will try to get the actual, but it said something along the lines of, the mother cow is to do nothing on this earth but rest and feed her young. For if that is taken away from her, every other animal will perish on earth. And when I read that, it just reminded me ultimately of this mother wound that we have, you know, of like, if the mother cannot raise her children and be that present, like, force in their life, everything else, every other animal, every human will perish on earth. Like, there was this other study and it said, you want to know what the number one important thing in a child's life for their like character, their mental stability? And of course, this was the second. You'd think like having their mom and their dad in their life, right? Which was the second thing. And that is 100% important. Nobody wants single moms, even though salute the single moms, but like every woman does deserve to have a man helping them raise a child. And it says that, so the study, the number one like character development for the kid that really helps them with their stability of who they are is the mental stability of their mother, the emotional and mental security. That's why it's like a woman who is with a man that takes that from her is better off by herself in her peace than if a man is beating on her, putting her down. But a woman that is next to a divine masculine that is nourishing her spiritually, physically, emotionally, so that she can be that strength for her children is the ultimate gift. It is, straight up. And if you have that in your life, most people who do have that, they don't even know it. That's the sad part. But it really is. That mother wound runs deep, and I feel it, you know. And wow, I got pretty deep this episode on a lot of things I didn't even realize I was going to talk about. But you know, the Holy Trinity, talked about Africa after and what I want to move forward in, y'all. So now, to finish it off, I'm going to pull a card with my daughter. Come here, Sophie. Come to mommy. I was going to show you these three, and I was going to have you choose which one you're feeling, okay?
Okay.
So we do got the OG deck of the animal spirit guides of the day. This is a gift that I actually got in Detroit, Michigan from one of my fellow Scorpio sisters. Shout out Hillary. And this is the Wild Unknown Tarot, okay? And then this is a newly gifted to me, the Essential Tarot book and card deck from my mother.
I want that one.
You do?
Yeah.
I guess that is fitting, right?
Right. We're talking about the mother wound, so let's talk about the mother healing.
Let's do it. And, you know, I guess this card is, it's not necessarily for you, even though it is, because it's for the collective of the energy, you know?
Yeah. I will represent the people.
Boom. Got my girl in here, you know? Also, is this good with Sophie?
Mm-hmm.
No? Yeah? Okay. Does it look okay?
Yeah.
All right.
You just look like you're in all white.
All right. She's my fluffy goddess. Okay. So we're just going to cleanse the deck a little, especially since it's a newer deck. Well. So we are going to just see what the card of the energy of today is that we pull. You know what's funny is I'm a horror.
Go.
So the first one is Temperance. And it says, this card represents a mixing of elements within oneself and within the relationships. Reach into the past for the continuity that you can carry into the future. This is an auspicious card that brings good health. Beautiful. And it says the downside of this card can be disharmony or frustration. People are working with you with cross purposes. Did you hear that?
Kind of.
Disharmony, frustration. People are working with you with people are working at cross purposes. Yep. That's like the good side of what happened, like going back into it. And that's also the other thing, like people who are working with different purposes. Wow. 6 of Cups. Yeah, you actually had to stay because you pulled the last one and we don't even know what it is. Okay. So, a peaceful country scene. Children are frolicking with their flowers and cup. People emerge from your past. You feel nostalgia for days gone by. You long for a lost love. The future will arrive sooner than you think. Look at what lies ahead and be prepared for a change. Ooh. Okay. I have been waiting for my long lost love my whole life. So we'll see. And what's the last one, bae?
I'm going to show them.
Okay.
Hopefully it's right side up.
Right. Okay. Did you see it?
No.
No? Death.
Wow,
no, but,
that was
right. But as we know, death is not bad. That makes sense. The old you has to die, so the new you. Accept the change so that your rebirth can occur. Let go of any past issues holding you back. Possible loss of a friendship. Well, that's pretty spot on. Pretty spot on. I didn't dive into the deeper of that for respect, but that is spot on. As you know, my friend. Isn't that spot on?
Mm-hmm.
Woo! All right, well, that really shows. So, well, thank you to anybody who is tuning into this podcast. And make sure you like and subscribe and follow me on TikTok and Instagram and YouTube. It is the Spiritual Stylist Podcast. And until then, y'all, be safe, and thank you so much for tapping in and listening to me share my stories. And let's see who I'm going to have on the next episode. The next one, I'm going to have a guest. So stay tuned for that, y'all. Mwah.